Good evening. We'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Allendale Public Schools commit to educate, inspire, and support all students. Yeah, the roll call. Amy? Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public participation process. Members of the audience are welcome to make comments at the time designated on the agenda. Please register on the sign-up sheet near the door. Limit your comments to 3 minutes when your name is called. Out of respect for all individuals, please refrain from personal criticisms in an open forum. And there is more detail in policy 167.3 for your reading pleasure. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Motion by Pam, second by Kim. All in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say the same. Motion to approve the agenda carries. And Garth has some items.
I do. So first up is our fall policy update. It was pretty light this time, which was nice. The first policy to discuss is policy 1540. This is a new policy. It relates to administrative staff reduction and recalls. I imagine the reason for this is that unfortunately there are a lot of districts throughout the state that are having declining enrollment.
Hey Garth, can you turn on your microphone?
I didn't press it hard. I must have missed the button. So policy 1540 is about administrative reduction and recall. I think this is designed for those districts that are having declining enrollment and maybe shutting down some buildings. And so how do you go about the process of eliminating administration? And so hopefully it's not a policy we'll ever need. We'll never have to reduce, but that's what that's about. I don't know if anybody had any questions regarding that one, but it's only like 2 sentences long, right? It's a pretty short policy. But good one to have on the books in case something happens. Policy 2370.01 is for online blended learning. The big change here comes about because of the Michigan compiled laws. They made some changes to that. And basically what it does is it allows a district in certain circumstances to switch the district to online learning for up to 15 days. The only time I could maybe see something like this being utilized in Allendale, remember we had that polar vortex, has it been 4 years now maybe, where school was shut down for an entire week because of the cold. If you could anticipate something like that happening, you might want to move into online learning so that learning can continue. If you had some type of natural disaster in a building, tornado hits, and so you need some time for repairs, I could see us needing maybe to use that in an emergency to switch. But that's what that policy is related to. So any questions there? Policy 7217 is related to weapons, and this has been revised to include references to the Michigan Supreme Court decision establishing that schools are not expressly restricted by existing legislature from regulating firearms. And so what that means is that schools have the right to create stricter gun policy if they want. So we know we're a weapons-free zone, and so it just, again, this is in reaction to the Michigan Supreme Court, and so they've updated that policy. Doesn't mean we have to change anything, doesn't mean we're going to change anything. Right now our policy aligns well with the law, so there's no reason to change it. It just means that if for some reason, I think particularly too, if there was some reason to suspect that there was a safety concern, schools have a little more flexibility to be responsive in that case. Policy 7540.03, this has to do with student technology and the student technology acceptable use form. So we've all heard about AI, this artificial intelligence. We know it's a thing, we know it's out there, we know students are using it. Discussed this with Paul Mulder, our technology director. this is a good policy to have. We probably imagine that as artificial intelligence continues to change, right, the policy may have to change with it. But for now, it speaks to students' use of it, appropriate use of it, gives teachers some authority to limit its use in class, that type of thing. And so I think it's a smart policy for us to have. We have the policy, but it's smart for us to add that language about artificial intelligence. Policy 8305 is related to information security. Now, this is simply, there's no change to the language of the policy at all. All they wanted to do is to make sure that there was a reference to a policy in our bylaws. So the only thing they did to this policy, if you look at it, is at the very bottom of the policy, they put cross-reference policy 0100. So doesn't change any of the language, it just, they added that to show people where they can go to other related policy in the manual. So no real change there. And then policy 8531, the changes here, some of it is formatting they changed, but some of it is they just want to make sure under the Michigan School Code, we are required to solicit our parents to fill out the forms for free and reduced lunch. And so they want the policy to have that language. Their concern is that because we have free breakfast and lunch for all students, that schools won't push as hard to get that information. The problem is there's some state funding, but there's also significant federal funding that comes not only to schools, but into the state itself based on those free and reduced numbers. So they just want to make sure that please fill out the form. There are other things that go along with this besides just free and reduced. So again, no real difference in how we're going to operate. They just changed some of the language of the Michigan compiled laws to make sure schools are following it. So again, another policy that we will want to update. So that's it. They're all pretty straightforward. This was our first reading, and we will revisit those again in December for approval. Okay, next up, we have a couple of exciting opportunities here, and I'm actually going to ask Beth, Mrs. Voss, to step to the podium for us, and she is going to discuss with us, first up, the new high school course offering for unified physical education.
Yes, hi. Yeah, so a course that we're proposing for next school year is called Unified PE. What that is, a Unified PE is a physical education class that pairs up students with disabilities and students without disabilities as peer partners, and like a one-to-one ratio in that class. So in this class, students of all abilities would be participating in activities together to grow their physical skills, but also intellectual and relational skills as well. So a few key features about this class that kind of sets it apart from other PE classes. The unified PE class would be co-taught, so that means it would be taught by both the special ed teacher and the PE teacher, so that they can meet the diverse needs of all of the students in that class. This class would also involve peer partnerships. So students with disabilities and without disabilities would be paired together as peer partners. And we already have those peer partnership opportunities in our schools. We call those links. You've maybe heard of that term before, links, and if you, the course proposal references links quite a bit. Links is that peer partnership between students with and without disabilities. And currently, links get together for some events at lunch times, or they might attend field trips together, or maybe some community events they attend together. But the unified PE class would bring links partnerships right into PE. So it would be that daily connection with link partners and would provide for that more consistent relationship building there. Another feature is that unified PE would provide the opportunity to adapt the activities better. So currently, in a class of maybe 30, 35 students, it can be difficult to modify activities for students with disabilities who need those modifications to be successful. So in a class like this, those modifications can be more easily brought into the class, because more people would need those modifications in that class. So it could include things like modifying the rules or modifying the equipment, maybe modifying the structure of the activities so that all the students could be successful. And then finally, another feature would be just skill development. So not only would students improve their physical abilities in unified PE, but it also enhances communication skills, teamwork skills, leadership skills, and overall builds positive social relationships between students of all abilities. Students learn to appreciate and understand differences within each other, and really fosters a sense of community and belonging for the students in that class. So for this class to occur, we don't need any additional resources. The PE department already has all the instructional materials and equipment and supplies needed. The only change would be that it would be co-taughts. We'd use both teachers, the special ed and the PE teacher for that class. And students would be able to select unified PE as one of their elective PE courses. So it would be an option for students to take unified PE or general PE. We currently already have many students involved in links, so those might be students who might naturally want to take that class because they've already been part of that program. So, any questions about that course?
Is there gonna be enough students, so for a 1-to-1 ratio? I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
yes, there will be. In fact, if there's a lot of interest in links, we may have to even narrow down who's going to be it. And I think we would go by, they would be selecting on their elective lists. They always kind of rank which electives they prioritize. Like, this is my first choice, my second choice. So we would prioritize students who made that as their first choice, and also students who are juniors and seniors and might not have that opportunity coming up in the future, so that hopefully students who want to be involved can be at some point during their 4 years. Yeah. Any other questions about that one?
Yeah, I have, I'd like to just say one thing. I think this is awesome, getting one-on-one, meaningful relationship between someone with a disability and the other kids versus throwing them in with the other 35, as mentioned here. The only thing I'm concerned about is the other 20 that we don't have, they're gonna miss out on the opportunity to work with those kids with disabilities. And some kids need a nudge to go work with those kids with a disability and go, hey, this isn't so awkward, or this isn't something I wouldn't like. They would cherish that relationship. I'm all in on this. But if we could find a way, don't know what I hate giving more problems without a solution. But if we could find a way to rotate those kids in that wouldn't necessarily be in the Links program, who already are comfortable with those kids with disabilities, and we can get those other kids involved, like Mr. Brown, to kind of dig into that a little deeper.
Yeah,
That's
so
all,
like
just so it's more of a statement.
nudging students who might not naturally choose that, but would be a really good experience for them. Yeah, thank you. We'll about those ways. Anything else?
Okay,
Okay.
next course.
Second course being proposed for next year is personal finance. So personal finance is now a required course for graduation, beginning with our students who are currently in 8th grade. So part of their graduation requirement through the Michigan Merit Curriculum will be this half-credit personal finance course. So we need to incorporate this into our course offerings. We currently already do have personal finance courses, but they're as electives, and so now this would be a requirement. We actually have 2 personal finance courses for electives. We have building wealth and financial management. So what we propose to do is to kind of combine those 2 elective courses into the one personal finance course, and that would be the required course for our high schoolers. We would use the resource that we already use in the elective courses. We use Dave Ramsey's Foundations in Personal Finance. So we would continue to use that resource. Some of the key expectations or content of that class would be around earning income, buying goods and services, budgeting and saving, using credit, financial investing, protecting and insuring, and paying taxes. So a lot of those skills that students are going to need as they enter adulthood. So Andy Weber currently teaches our 2 elective courses. So he's been using this curriculum, these resources, and he would be teaching the new personal finance required course as well. The only cost that would be part of this is that we do use there's some digital licenses that come with that curriculum. And so each year we need to renew those digital licenses. And that's around $2,500 per year to keep those licenses active. Okay. Questions about that one?
I do have one question about the unified PE, just going back. It sounds like you're anticipating a full class, correct?
Yes.
So what would a full class be? Like, how many students?
Troy, how many students usually in the full class? 30-ish?
Yeah, we can go, we'll hire them for PE, but with a unified focus, we're going to try to about 30.
Okay.
So we're hoping to be about 15.
15 and 15? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Beth.
you.
and again, these will come up for a vote in our December meeting, so if you come up with more questions before then, and again, in the interim, you can always reach out to Beth or Troy, and they can try to help answer any questions you might have. Next up, I just want to do a review of our 31AA spending plan, and so 31AA is another grant that has now come available to us, and you can see how many grants are out there now that we're in the double lettering. It used to be just 31A, and we're all the way up to 31AA. But part of the requirement to receive this grant is to share publicly what we are planning to do with it. This grant specifically is designed for students' mental health, social, mental health and well-being, and safety, school safety. The one big caveat is that at least 50% of the grant has to be spent on mental health. So you can spend more on mental health, but you can't spend less on mental health. So you couldn't use the whole grant for safety measures. You'd have to at least use half of it for mental health. We are looking at using this to help fund like our OCSN positions that we have. That's, we have an OCSN full-time person in Evergreen, full-time OCSN person in the middle school, and that is the Ottawa County School Network. Folks, those are the folks that really have done a great job being a resource for our families. So when we have a student or a family in crisis, they're able to help connect them with local community partners. We're going to use some of this for our counselors and social work positions that we have. We've added a few of those the last year or two. This will allow us to offset some of those costs, which is great. One of the things we're looking at for safety, it's kind of limited in what you can use it for safety. One of the things is security cameras. Well, we've addressed security cameras continuously, and we've had different grants, and we still have a little bit from last year's grant that we're going to use to get a few more cameras, so that won't be something for us to look at. But one of the things that we've heard from parents, teachers, staff, is that we'd really like to look at putting 6-foot-high fences around all of our elementary playgrounds. And so the one that's most concerning is the ECC, because of how close it is to Pierce, and people go pretty quickly down that road. And so we're going to look at, when Mr. Torno priced it out to do all 3 playgrounds, believe it or not, is I think close to $500,000, if I did that right, about $500,000. So this grant certainly wouldn't cover all of that. We would probably like to target one school, and so the ECC makes the most sense. So we will look at pricing out just doing that, and then Mr. Torno's got some ideas about how to repurpose the 4-foot fence, maybe around the middle school, I think, or somewhere around the athletic fields. I can't remember exactly, but so we'll repurpose that fence, and we'll look at putting a 6-foot-high fence around the ECC, and then maybe if there's more grants down the line, or if we have the resources, we'll do the 6-foot fences and the other, probably a progression, do evergreen next, since it's the next youngest kids and not up.
Do we have, sorry to interrupt,
Nope.
but do you have a problem with the kids climbing the fences and getting out? Or is that the purpose of the 6-foot versus the 4-foot?
Believe it or not, we do. And I asked Mr. Smolin about it, and I said, if a kid can climb a 4-foot fence, they can climb a 6-foot fence. He said, yeah, but I can catch them before they get over the 6-foot fence. He said that extra 2 feet gives me a good running chance of trying to catch up to him. So, yeah, no, believe it or not, he's got a couple, particularly this year, that have tried to scale and get over, and so, yeah, I think it'll be a good idea. Any other questions about the spending plan? And again, for anyone in the audience, if you have any ideas or would like to know more, please reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss it with you. Wanted to give you an update on our HR director search. That position posting closed last night. We had 7 applicants for the position. I have spoken to you individually. We are going to be moving forward with the hiring process. We should have, I'm hoping to actually have it concluded by the end of this week, as soon as possible. We did have a lot of good candidates. Unfortunately, as I was concerned about, we did get several who have HR experience, but not necessarily in schools, and school is just such a unique setting with, those prohibited subjects of bargaining, with the union, with with the certifications, the emergency certifications, it's a unique world, and so some of the folks we just felt like didn't have quite that experience that we're looking for, and so we're really narrowing down the field, as you know from our conversation, but I'll let you know soon what the outcome is of that. And then update on bond proposal. I did meet last week. Gary and I did. We met with both TMP and Triangle, and we're pushing to get more information as quickly as we can. But I am going to start scheduling over the next couple of weeks my stakeholder meetings, and so I'll be scheduling a meeting with our elementary staffs, our secondary staff, our bus drivers, our food service. Part of it will be to share with them what some of the big ideas are, like the expansion at the ECC, but I really want to hear their ideas as well. I was actually at Evergreen today. I was talking with somebody in the office there, and they had a really great idea I'd never even thought about in terms of some bathroom concerns upstairs. Not, obviously we've been doing really well there, but hey, have we ever thought about maybe we could do this with the bathroom? It's like, hey, now's the time to think about stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to meeting with those stakeholder groups and getting some of their ideas, and, talk to the food service staff about, their ideas. If we do expand the ECC, we'll very likely have to maybe do some expansion with the kitchen over there. So I'm looking forward to those meetings. And again, hopefully as we go through and we have our meeting in December, I might even have some more information to share. One of the things I would like to put out for the board is that whenever you do a bond proposal like this, you want to create a kind of like a focus group, I guess you would call it. And so it's usually a couple of board members, a couple of teachers, some parents, a couple of administrators. You try to get about 12 to 14, and that's the group that will kind of do some of the vetting. So as I start to meet with stakeholder groups, we'll meet with this focus group, and they'll help go through those ideas and kind of winnow down the list a little bit. But by December 19th, I'm going to want to have a group put together. So think amongst yourselves, and I'll have to talk with Liz as well. If you're interested in being on that group, like I said, there's usually about 2 board members on that. And then also, it's real important that we have community members who are active in the community, that, kind of have those connections, that are real supportive of the school. So if you've got somebody you would like to sort of nominate to me, let me know, because I'd want to reach out to them as well. And then I will work internally with our staff to see who might want to volunteer from that side of it. And of course, we'll put out a call to parents too, see who's interested, so. It's gonna start speeding up real fast here. Once we start having these meetings in December, I'll have those groups, and then we'll meet with our focus group, and then in January, we'll start to have community forums, and January and February will be quite hot with some of those different meetings with different groups. So it's getting exciting. Any questions about that? I'm meeting again this Thursday, I believe, with TMP and Triangle again. So those will be regular meetings for us as well.
One of the things that I just, as you are having discussions with staff and everything, I would just really want to make sure that that piece of inclusive playgrounds is put in there. We just had, a curriculum request for unified PE, and I think that really lends into, we can do something at a younger age and include some of these kiddos in activities and playing and learning. Kids, who, maybe have some disabilities or challenges with other kids that don't. And the earlier we can start this, I think that might be more helpful later on in their years. So I know there's a wish list 100 long. My fear is that sometimes when people think of inclusive playgrounds, they think of it's just for a small percentage of our student population, and where in fact it's actually for our whole student population. Building those relationships and learning to play together in different ways, maybe that they haven't played before. So I just want to make sure that that's a piece that, is continuing, because I know that's costly. And you did a great job getting that grant before. And so when that comes up, I just want to make sure that is still in there.
Absolutely. And the board will have opportunities as we go along too. As the list starts to narrow, you'll have opportunities to give some feedback and some input. And of course, ultimately, the board has to decide what we take to the state as our final plan. So you will have final control over that. So if something you feel is critical got overlooked, you will definitely have a chance to make sure that that's brought out. So that's all I have for a bond update today. And I think I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. This time is open for the board and any items or discussions similar to what Kim just brought up to bring out. Good. Kevin? Okay. Pam? All right. I got a no out of Josh, so, okay. All right, public comments? There are no public comment signatures right now, so if anyone is interested, you can do so at this time. All right.
All speak at once.
Do I have a motion to adjourn at 6:30?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:30.
Support?
Motion by Kevin, support by Anna. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say the same. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.